Welcome to Andy and Ari On3. Happy SEC Media Days to all who celebrate. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, is up on the podium right now talking. I have been listening, so you don't have to. And he hasn't said anything interesting yet. I guess the one thing, Ari, that he said that was sort of interesting is everybody's talking about super conferences. Well, welcome to one. So little flex there.
How long do you think he was workshopping that one?
Yeah. He said, oh, yeah, the House settlement was going to be messy. We'll get into how messy that is a little bit later in the show because we want to talk about actual football first. He said there's a bill in Congress that has been introduced by Republicans and Democrats in the House. He said it's not an attempt to maintain the status quo. It is absolutely an attempt to maintain the status quo, and it probably will fail because it will not get 60 votes in the Senate. What else we got? That's about it.
Did you have to look up how many votes it needed, or did you just know that?
It takes 60 votes to overcome a filibuster in the Senate. So
the guy who talks and won't shut up?
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, it'll pass in the House, but it probably will not pass in the Senate unless there are some wheelings and dealings going on or significant changes to it. But
politics.
We can get to all that later because that's boring. It's not football. We want to talk about football. Like
if you asked or polled 100 random fans who listen to the show, selected at random, how many of you care about what may or may not occur in the Senate? What do you think not that they don't care. I'm sure everybody cares what the result is, but cares to talk about it. How many do you think it would be?
I think there'd be about 10%. I do think there's a component that's very interested in that stuff. But listen, I'll tell you, I'm not interested in that stuff except that it's my job to follow it. Like if I was doing something different and college football was my favorite sport like it is, I wouldn't care one bit about that stuff.
I think most people are in the faction of, I realize it's important. I don't have the stamina to...
Or just tell me what it is.
Tell me what happened done with it and how it impacts the sport. Not like here are the 19 different things that could happen, because then it just kind of like makes me feel the same way it does about like actual politics, which is this is way over my head and I have no idea what's going on. And
it's not over your head. It's just stupid and boring. And there are solutions that they could come to. There's some common sense solutions that they will eventually get to, but they're going to exhaust every avenue to try to keep the money that they had before.
Is that we all knew that this wasn't going to work. Like you had to have like a 5th grade education to realize this was going to happen. Oh, we'll talk about it later, but like it's like
we have actual football to talk about. I released my top 10 SEC quarterbacks today. By the way, going top 10 quarterbacks in each of the power leagues this week. So Big 10 tomorrow, ACC and Big 12 later in the week. But we're starting with the SEC. Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers and Diego Pavia are at SEC Media Days today. Oh, and Austin Simmons. So 4 guys who are on my list of the top 10 are there today. Shall I read the list for the podcast audience?
Sure, please.
All right. Number 1, DJ Lagway from Florida. Number 2, LSU's Garrett Nussmeier. Number 3, South Carolina's Lenora Sellers. Number 4, Arch Manning of Texas. Number 5, John Mateer from Oklahoma. Number 6, Austin Simmons from Ole Miss. Number 7, Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. Number 8, Gunnar Stockton from Georgia. Number 9, Ty Simpson from Alabama. And number 10, Marcel Reed from Texas A&M. So that's the list. Now we can begin arguing.
Yeah, I mean, like we have spent a lot of time this offseason talking about this topic, but the thing that always makes me laugh, because I'm in agreement with you, but I don't know if I can explain why, other than like I saw it with my eyes, which isn't scientific, which is if DJ's number 1, then why is Lenora's number 3? Like they're virtually very similar.
I actually changed this because my original top 10 in the country returning, I had DJ 1 and Lenora's 2. But after talking to a bunch of people in the offseason, Garrett Nussmeier is really, really good, and we should expect a big jump from him. And
he's going to be very good.
That's why I moved him up.
The thing that is funny, though, is it's a big enough debate deciphering between DJ and Lenoris. But not only have you deciphered between them by ranking one more than the other, you rank the other one 2 spots ahead in front of another very.
But here's the thing, Ari. I could see anybody in the top 6 being in New York for the Heisman ceremony this year. That's how loaded the SEC is at quarterback this year.
It is kind of hard to get upset about it because it's not like somebody who is undeserving is high. You know, like it's like.
Well, there are people who think we shouldn't have DJ Lagway that high at all, that we should have DJ Lagway in the middle somewhere because
the entire summer people think that DJ Lagway has been overrated. And I think that what we do, and the thing that I love about it, is projecting forward. And like the thing that I want you to help me with, and I'm not challenging you, we're going to workshop this together.
Oh, challenge away.
But I agree with you. Well, I want you to help me articulate why.
Okay. Well, okay. Here's the one thing about DJ Lagway, and I put this in the story that went along with this. The biggest caveat is his health. Like, he's been resting various nagging injuries this offseason. It has been a whole thing if you've been following Florida this offseason. If he is not healthy, if he misses multiple games, then he's not going to be able to reach that ceiling. He's not going to get to that point. If he is healthy, though, he gives Florida a chance to win every game on its incredibly difficult schedule. And I think Goat Dog in the chat puts it very well. My favorite way of debating this is seeing how every QB would fit in every other system. I personally lean toward Lagway. Right. And that's the question. If you could put DJ Lagway in your team's offense, would your team be better? And I think the answer is yes, for all of them.
Yeah, I also think that's true for Lenora Sellers, though.
It's also true for Arch Manning and John Mateer and Garrett Nussmeier.
Is Garrett Nussmeier can run a little. So, like, I think people forget that, and Arch can run.
Arch can run a lot. Nussmeier probably not. Like, here, if we're talking about who's the best runners of these, Arch, Mateer, and Sellers are the three best runners. Lagway can and is a very large human being. Nussmeier is a good athlete, but of those top five, the best runners would be Arch, Lenoris, and Mateer. And then Austin Simmons, by the way, pretty big dude, pretty good mover at Ole Miss.
3 out of the 4 quarterbacks.
Justin C in the chat, so biased. Yes, it is a ranking. Rankings are inherently biased, Justin. That's how rankings work. It's a person's opinion.
3 out of 4 of your top 4 quarterbacks have spent time being injured at some point in their careers.
Yep.
Right. Garrett Nussmeier's never missed any extended time with an injury, has he? Not that I can recall.
Right. And availability is often your best ability. But David in the chat, Lagway. Oh, David, counting stats. 1,915 yards, 12 TDs, 9 interceptions. Okay, congratulations, David. He wasn't the full-time starter last year. So if you expect a full season's worth of passing yards, you're not going to get it. But DJ Lagway did average 10 yards per attempt, which was second in the country behind Jackson Dart. And oh, by the way, we didn't see him fully until the Ole Miss game. I mean, because the LSU game he's playing on one leg. And he wasn't really the starter before any of those.
The thing I can't wrap my head around is that, like, there's a lot of people who are upset by the DJ Lagway ranking, and this has been true all summer, is that they have to be fans of another SEC team, right? Because
they would absolutely take him if they could.
I just don't know
the Nussmeier thing. I can accept the Nussmeier argument, but there is the whole, remember what happened when they were both on the same field at the same time and DJ Lagway was playing on one leg? Who was better that day?
The raw ability of, like, I don't care about stats. I think I want, like, my motto in life: stats are stupid. That could be one of my rules for life next time we have a guest. Is that, like, anybody who watched him play knows he's sensational. Like, I just, like, I don't know, like this willing ignorance of relying on stats and saying he hasn't. It's like, did you watch him play at all? Like, how? Well,
no, they haven't.
Like,
it's very easy to pick the ones who have or haven't watched Lagway play or Arch play, and they've just box score watched. Like, there's no question. Mateer's the same thing. Like, go watch Mateer at Washington State. Like, it's insane.
And I think the great part is you have also acknowledged that any of the top 6 players on your list could conceivably be number one by the end of the year. You're doing your best to project something that's impossible to project. Like,
also, number 7 on my list, by the way, we were having this discussion, you and I. Like, if you put Diego Pavia, if you said Diego Pavia went to Alabama and he's starting at Alabama now, we'd automatically make Alabama the number 1 team in the country.
I think so that's the next thing that stood out to me too, is Gunnar Stockton a spot ahead of Ty Simpson in the calculus there.
I have no idea which one's going to be better.
Yeah.
Do you?
No. I didn't. It's not my list though, so take me out of the hot seat. I didn't make the list. Yeah, and then also too, I think A&M fans probably might, have a gripe to say, hey, Marcel Reed could take a huge jump, but like
he could. He doesn't throw as well as these other guys.
The actual statement here, though, when looking at this list, though, is that the SEC is unequivocally the deepest quarterback conference in the country this year, right? And
Big 12 has an argument, but the SEC has the most top end, like potentially elite guys. Like that top. Diego Pavia is kind of his own category because he just makes every team he's on better, period. But the top 6 I have here, like, could be Heisman Trophy types, could be top 10 NFL draft pick types. Like, they are all really, really good.
The SEC quarterback list and the Big 12 quarterback list mirrors exactly the conferences. Because if you look at the Big 12, you could say they are the deepest. And that might be true. Like when Brett Yormark said the Big 12 is the deepest conference in the sport last week, that was actually true in the sense that like the number 9 team in the conference could conceivably win it. But the difference between the Big 12 and the SEC, both in quarterbacks and in teams, is that while everybody's very good, you don't have the melt your face number 1 overall draft pick, win the national title type teams. Like, I think that those two things mirror each other. Although I'm very curious to see, what guys like Devin Dampier can do because he's still relatively unknown. The one thought that I have had over the last few months is like trying to picture Diego Pavia at like Colorado or Texas Tech or TCU or even like Kansas, like if he would be a bigger star. I wonder if he is hindered by Vanderbilt in the sense that Vanderbilt is probably further out of the pack in the SEC race this year when you think about like the actual Megatron teams, whereas if he were in a actual conference race, if his star would be bigger.
I think you could put Diego Pavia on any team in college football and he would be great.
He's proven that because you would maybe argue that Vanderbilt would be the hardest team to be a star at, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And to make them better. And look, the one I would have argued in the FBS was the hardest to make better was New Mexico State, which he did. So, yeah, he could be anywhere. And the thing is, he's had the opportunity. Like, he had the opportunity to leave Vanderbilt after this year, and he turned it down. He wanted to stay. So, I'm interested. He's there today. I'm interested to hear what he says. If you have not listened to his interview with Bussin' with the Boys with Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, it's really interesting.
That isn't a slight on Vanderbilt, Andy, because I know people.
No, it's just the reality of the situation.
When you're compared to your peers, your direct peers, it's harder to stand out in the conference that's got Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. Like it's just harder.
Let's one Lagway thing. Sharice in the chat. Why is everyone hyping up DJ Lagway like he's going to be the next Tim Tebow? Sharice, he is his tools and skill set. He can be a much better quarterback than Tim Tebow. Like, will he put up the numbers Tim Tebow put up? I don't know.
You know what's what's kind of amusing to think about? If we had a podcast back in 08 or 09 and 07 was the year, right? Where he was the sophomore.
That was his Heisman year. That was his sophomore year.
Yeah. If we were having this discussion and we did a QB rankings after the 06 season and you put Tim Tebow number 1 and then somebody flashed the stats from the previous year up on the screen and said, what about this?
Yeah, I was gonna say he threw like 4 passes and threw
like 4 total passes
and half of them were jump passes. So yeah, and then he just balled out and won the Heisman Trophy,
year, which is a nice reminder that like if you are a person who likes to engage in quarterback rankings in an offseason projecting the future while overly relying on stats from the previous year, you're doing it wrong.
You putting this is Nuzzy in the chat. You putting Tebow and Lagway in the same sentence shows how clueless you are. Nuzzy, I've seen every Florida quarterback up close and personal since Shane Matthews. Okay. DJ Lagway has a bigger skill set than all of them. And that includes 2 Heisman Trophy winners in Danny Werfel and Tim Tebow. And it doesn't mean he's going to be better than them. He has a lot of work to do, and he has to stay healthy.
There's a fundamental pushback that you're always going to get whenever you start comparing someone's tools to someone's accomplishments. Like, those are 2 very different things. Like
David, yeah, you're comparing him to the best QB in college football history. That is not Tim Tebow, guys.
Cam Newton. Lamar Jackson, maybe.
Who, by the way, was on the same Florida roster as Tim Tebow at one time. Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of guys.
He's not saying that DJ Lagway is already more accomplished than Tim Tebow. He's saying his raw ability at this point in his career favors comparably to where Tim Tebow was. How is that hard to understand? I don't understand.
Like, talk to an NFL scout and let's compare Lagway's release to Tebow's release.
Do people not think that DJ Lagway is going to be the number 1 overall pick? Like, I just do not.
It might not be, though.
I have no dog in this fight. But, we're talking about somebody who has raw ability, and we've seen bad quarterbacks with great raw ability through 3 years of their college career get taken in the first round.
Anthony Richardson. We've seen a Florida one do it. Yeah.
It doesn't take that. If he is even marginally effective, he might be the number 1 overall pick based solely on his physical traits.
I'll push back because Arch can leave after this year, but every indication we've got is that Arch's plan is to play 2 years as a starter at Texas. How crazy is that going to be if it comes down to Arch and DJ, then whoever's in the Big Ten, and they're that quarterback class could be nuts.
Have you noticed that in the NFL draft, and I don't know why this seems to be the case, but there seems to be certain drafts where there's 5 players who could be the first round pick, and there's drafts where you can't find the first round pick.
Yes.
That's why that always happens year over year. It doesn't matter. It's there isn't just one bona fide number 1 guy that everyone's obsessed with year over year. Cam Ward was the number overall pick this past year, but this is a very weak quarterback draft, and I don't know that he would have been the number.
But they wouldn't and we wouldn't have said that going into the year.
And you're talking about somebody that I actually believe in Cam Ward could be a really good NFL player. So I'm not negging him, but
and the other thing is Sellers doesn't have to leave after this season either.
I mean, Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway, Arch Manning could all conceivably be in the same top 5.
Yeah. Austin Simmons doesn't have to leave. Because, okay, let's have an Austin Simmons conversation. You saw him on the show. If you guys are regular watchers of the show, you saw Austin Simmons on the show. You can't help but come away impressed. I wrote this in the story, and Ari, you and I have talked about this a million times because we were there at the Ole Miss Georgia game when he had to come in to replace Jackson Dart. And I keep saying, are we putting too much on one drive in one game? It was a pretty awesome drive. I felt like that was, if that's representative of what we're going to see from Austin Simmons, I probably have him too low on this list.
Yeah, I think that you're also doing your best to use the hints and clues around you. You're kind of like a Boy Scout in the forest a little bit, with some of this stuff. It's he's at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's very good at designing plays. He's got tremendous size and measurables. He showed great poise in a very tough situation. I mean, you could say that maybe that Ole Miss home game against Georgia last year was one of the 4 biggest games in Ole Miss history. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he came in with the entire stadium deflated and drove them down the field like nothing happened to Jackson Dart. And at the point in time in which he was thriving, you didn't know if Jackson was returning against that Georgia defense. I think that you could, I put much more stock in that drive than I do the drive that Steve Angeli had in the playoff game.
Well, right, because Steve Angeli fumbled, and if their right tackle doesn't jump on it, if Amel Wagner doesn't jump on it, then we have a very different opinion of that drive. So, but that is the thing with Austin Simmons. And here's the other part of Austin Simmons. And I'll say this. I actually thought about this a lot as I did the SEC one and as I'm doing the Big Ten and the Big 12 ones and the ACC ones. The schools that typically use the transfer portal a lot, when they don't use it, that tells you something. Lane Kiffin uses the transfer portal. If Lane Kiffin sees a need, he fills it in the portal. There was never a question about who was going to ascend to the starting job after Jackson Dart left. Like we talked about Georgia kicking the tires on Fernando Mendoza before the bowl game. There was none of that with Ole Miss. It was going to be Austin Simmons the whole way. And I think that is what makes this so interesting. Like Lane, if he sensed any weakness, would have brought in somebody to compete with him.
Right. And I think that, like, it's very, reasonable to question Lane Kiffin or certain aspects of his coaching career. I think that he's grown tremendously in the last 6 to 7 years as a head coach, but at the same time too, like, you don't just get to ignore the fact that they fumbled the bag last year. And like, that's a negative for him. But if there's one thing that unequivocally he's going to do, he's going to get his quarterback ready and he's going to evaluate his quarterback well. So, this is being a top 6 quarterback in these rankings in this conference is kind of a nice feather in your cap. Let's focus on one other thing here, Andy, that stood out to me, because in my playoff projections, and I think yours too, did both Alabama and Georgia make yours? And both of them?
Yes, they did.
Do you think that we need to rethink Alabama and Georgia's trajectory as teams this year if they have the 7th and 8th best quarterbacks in their own conference?
Nope.
No.
Because where would you have put A.J. McCarron back in the day?
I don't know. But back in the day,
think of all the other quarterbacks in the league at the time. Now, he probably would have been higher than that, but I think, especially with the Ty Simpson thing, but also with the Gunnar Stockton thing, that there's so much talent around them that they are going, like, if they are, because these 8 and 9 is middle of the pack. Like if they are middle of the pack QBs with that much talent around them, they will be competing for the SEC championship. They will be competing for playoff spots. If they are above that, if they play their way above that, then you're talking national title contenders.
See, that's interesting because I would actually push back at the notion that A.J. McCarron and the team that he had around him has any bearing on this year, because
he had a better team around him than these guys will.
It's just the gap between Georgia and Alabama in this.
I think Ty Simpson. I think Alabama's roster is excellent. I think Alabama, top to bottom, other than quarterback, which remains to be seen. We'll see about Ty Simpson. If you were ranking rosters, would you put Alabama number 1?
Yeah,
number 1 or 2, probably.
I would. But I feel like the difference between 1 and 5 isn't the same as 1 and 5 when AJ McCarron.
You're right. They are good, but that's why I say they are going to have to play their way higher in these rankings. Either one of those two, if they want their teams to be national title contenders.
A fundamental college football question. The national champion last year was Ohio State. Will Howard was a 6th round pick, and I thought that he played quite well last season, but. Like last year,
will there be a team with that level of talent around? Well, and the thing is, if we're talking about who has the most talent around them on this list, it's Arch.
Going into last season with Ohio State, we were uncertain of Will Howard's ability or if he was good enough from our notions of what the quarterback at this level had to be. The year before the 2 quarterbacks were 1st round picks in the national title game. And like you're like, it's fine. Ohio State, don't worry. Anybody could quarterback them to the national championship, or anybody could quarterback them to the college football playoff. And like, I just don't know if you can say that about anybody anymore.
Where would you put Will Howard in the Big Ten rankings last year? Of course,
you're asking me to remember everyone's starting quarterback from last year after I erased that from my brain. That's dangerous.
Well,
you know better.
He was ahead of them. He's ahead of whoever's at Michigan because obviously Michigan had to make some fundamental changes.
Yeah,
they couldn't throw the ball.
Being compared to Drew Aller and who else? Like also too, like the Big Ten quarterback rankings looked nothing like this.
Yeah, Drew Aller, Dylan Gabriel, Luke Altmaier.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have put him 4 or 5.
Chris Rourke.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's low. He did play well. And he's an NFL quarterback. So I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not even more interested in like analyzing how well he played. I'm more interested in diving into the notion that anybody could be thrown into that Ohio State team and they'd make the playoff. Like, can you say that about anybody anymore?
It's not just anybody. Like Will Howard did a good job, but I do think there were.
We said that before he did a good job,
but were there 30 quarterbacks in America who, if you put them in that offense, would have also led them to a national championship?
Right. So how many
quarterbacks on this list? All of them?
Most of them.
Probably?
All of them, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's my point. Can you do it? Can you still do that?
I don't know. But I will tell you that Alabama and Georgia still have probably a prohibitive talent advantage over these others, except for Texas.
They do. But also, too, if you have a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10 at quarterback, and then you play Florida, who has a 10 out of 10, and Florida's pretty good, you might lose game. And it might Florida, LSU, South Carolina,
9 out of 10,
Oklahoma,
and Jackson Dart, and got DJ Lagway on the wrong day, and then they missed the playoff because of it. I mean, that is
when you think about the tightrope that you need to walk in this conference to make the SEC championship game, let alone the playoff. I don't know that Alabama and Georgia are just bulletproof in the sense that, like, listen, if these guys turn out to be great, if these guys turn out to be great, then this is a non-convo. I'm just saying if we're moving forward under the assumption that they are 8 and 9 in their own conference, I might think twice about putting both in the playoff. Maybe one will make it, but both probably not. I'll tell you this right now. If
that's the thing, look at the top 3. One of those teams is I will tell you, I'll plant the flag, and I don't think this is going on a huge limb. One of the 3 teams led by the top 3 quarterbacks on this list is making the playoff, whether it's Florida, LSU, or South Carolina. But I'm not sure it's more than one.
I know, but I think that we also are just going to go ahead and throw Texas in there. So unless you think
we are putting Texas in the playoff,
if you think four SEC teams are going to make it this year, then it might be Alabama and Georgia. But if it's 3 again, one of them might be a rock in the hard place. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's not the same sport. And how many times in the last 7 years would you also have a SEC quarterback list where both of them are outside of the top 7? Would that have ever happened at any point in the last 8 years?
We probably would have put Milroe pretty high last year.
For sure, he wouldn't have been 8.
Now, last year was different because a lot of these guys were first-year starters. And I think the reason why this year feels so loaded in the SEC is because last year was not. Like, last year was a bunch of people trying to figure out. We didn't know what Garrett Nussmeier was going to be yet. We didn't know what Lenora Sellers was going to be yet. Graham Mertz was supposed to start the whole season for Florida. Jackson Arnold was going to be. See, I don't have Jackson Arnold on this list. What if he balls out at Auburn? Because, again, I think he got put in the worst possible situation last year and will probably be better. But the body of work I've seen so far makes it hard to put him in the top 10. But he could very easily be in the top 10 at the end of this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to make these lists when the entire top 10 could have been look like the Big 12 standings from last year in comparison to their projections, and it wouldn't be weird. It's like being number 8 on this list also isn't as embarrassing as being number 8 on a list from 5 years ago. Like, this is...
I'll tell you, I've already started work on the Big 10 one. It's different.
But I also wonder,
this one's a lot harder to parse than that one.
I wonder too if we work under the assumption that that both won't make the playoff. I wonder if it comes down to which one of these quarterbacks performs better, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and both interesting, Georgia and Alabama, because we talked about this with regard to Ole Miss. In both cases, they could have, if they truly wanted to, gone and gotten somebody out of the portal. Now, we do know that Georgia kicked the tires on Fernando Mendoza. They also tried to get Deshaun Purdy, because remember, Deshaun Purdy was at Charlotte. He was going to go to Florida to back up DJ Lagway, and then he realized, hey, there's a bigger market for me than this. Tried to go to Georgia. Florida blocked him from going to Georgia, and he wound up at Wake Forest. So, I think, and I don't think the idea was him to go to Georgia to start. I think it was to back up Gunnar Stockton too. But Georgia didn't go try to get somebody over Gunnar Stockton, which they could have done. And they could have done it after the bowl game too.
I think that reading the tea leaves of what a coach could have done in order to improve his roster and didn't is an important aspect of this.
And DeBoer at Alabama, same thing. Kalen DeBoer knew Jalen Milroe wasn't coming back. Like, if you heard Jalen Milroe talk after their bowl game, it was abundantly clear he was not coming back. So they knew before the bowl game he's not coming back. they could have gone and gotten, like, who wouldn't want to throw to Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard? Like, they could have gotten anybody.
Yeah.
And they looked at the roster. They looked at what they had, which was Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell coming in, and said, you know what? We're going to ride with these guys.
And you also wonder if he made the wrong decision last year. And whether or not he made the right decision this year, again, is an important thing. It's like, what if Alabama misses the playoff 2 years in a row because their head coach, who just had a first-round draft pick at quarterback at Washington, made the wrong quarterback decisions 2 years in a row?
Yeah. No, it's a legitimate question. And that's what I've always asked. The Alabama fans who insist to me that Jalen Milroe was the biggest problem last year, my response is always, then why didn't Ty Simpson beat him out? And don't give me politics. Don't give me you lose the locker room, because that's BS. Players are not stupid. They will ride with the quarterback who they think gives them the best chance to win. So they're not going to be upset if you picked the obviously better quarterback. My thing is, he probably wasn't obviously better, and that's why they didn't pick him. So now is he better? And the other part of this, and this does matter, is Ryan Grubb is now back with Kalen DeBoer. So was Kalen DeBoer at full strength last year compared to what he was at Washington? Probably not. Now he's got his consigliere back, who works with quarterbacks, by the way. That's the position Ryan Grubb works with. And I think that makes a big difference.
I'm with you. I can't ever get over that play call that they had against Washington State their last year together at Washington. You know, with the game on the line, tie game, I believe.
Yep.
4th down and 1 from their own 38 or something. And just that, not only going for it, the cojones to do that, but that play call they pulled out of their ass. Oh my God. That was I was like Kevin McAllister from Home Alone when I was watching that. I was like, you know, like I had my hands on my face, like, oh my God, I've never been more impressed and borderline like I had to like pull the collar on my shirt out because I was getting hot.
Can we just appreciate that 15 minutes, by the way? Like, you had that, and then you had the Jalen Milroe to Isaiah Bond 4th and goal from the 31 in the Iron Bowl at basically the same time.
It was a Saturday after Thanksgiving, right? And I had all my entire
all
family
eyes were on Ann Arbor because Ohio State was playing Michigan that day for essentially, you know, a spot in the Big Ten title game. That game was over because that was a noon game. These were both in that 3:30 Eastern window, and they ended about the same time. It was wild. I was at P.F. Chang's in Ann Arbor watching both of them.
I was at the Athletic at the time, and I wasn't on the road that day. And I think it was just because it was Thanksgiving, and like my family and Britt's family was here. And I just like watched the Ohio State Michigan game with my family. Then I went to my bedroom and wrote a column about that Ryan Day and whether or not he chose the wrong quarterback in Kyle McCord, which drove everybody insane. And then I came back out into the living room, like in the second half of those games, and we all just sat there eating leftover turkey. And I was like watching both of them like on the double screen. And like, I cannot, like, that was like college football nirvana overload. I feel like that's like what, like, you know, it's like going to a buffet and getting one plate too much.
It was amazing. 101 Straight Facts has a question for us in the chat, and it's a legitimate one. Okay, Andy, then how has Arch won at Texas when he couldn't win the job at Texas last year? 101 Straight Facts, you're apparently new here. We've asked this question about 7,000 times in the last 4 months. Like, yeah, Sark's going to get a lot of shit if it turns out that Arch is awesome. Because
I don't know that that's true.
I do, because they're going to be people who say you should have played him, you should have started him earlier, and you would have won a national championship. You know how that's how everyone's mind operates. You know it is.
Yeah. I don't know, like picturing Texas being 8-0 and having a Heisman front runner quarterback and people freaking out about last year is so funny to me.
It'll happen because they'll be like, why didn't you do the Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence thing that Dabo did?
Yeah. Well, the best thing that could happen to Texas probably from a coaching confidence standpoint would be Arch getting off to a slow start in the first month and then catching fire.
Well, and no.
Well, that's going to be hard.
It's not a slow start type of game, but You obviously don't have to win that game at Ohio State, but it would certainly help. Oh, and by the way, Ari, some people in the chat did point out, and I feel like we should note this when we were talking about like what if Arch stays another year and then DJ's coming out, and what if Lenora stays another year? The 27 draft, it still might be Jeremiah Smith going number 1 in that draft.
Yeah,
no matter what.
It's going to be a hell of a draft. Well, I hope we go to that one together. That will be a fun draft.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big year for sports card collecting for sure. I can't wait for the hobby boxes to be $2,500. It's going to be a lot of fun. The thing that I always laugh about when it comes to the Arch Manning is staying for 2 years discussion. And there are people in our company that are like vehemently like, yeah, he's staying 2 more years. It's like, how could you possibly make that decision without even seeing what this year looks like?
Yeah, you don't know that.
I don't even know. What if
he may come to December and he's like, yeah, I've done all I can do. I'm going to win a national title here. Like
the Heisman Trophy, he's gone. Why would he come back?
Why wouldn't he come back? What if he wins the Heisman and doesn't win the national title?
I'm just saying you can't say
he doesn't need the money, Ari. Like it's not.
You can't definitively
the old
say
days.
you're coming back if you don't know how the season played out yet.
Yeah. I love this debate though. I love this because I think this will be the most ferocious debate we have among these. I think we can get into some fun debates in the Big 12. The Big 10's not going to be that big of a debate. Like, I'm actually not sure. I think I'm going to put Drew Aller at number 1, but I haven't decided yet. But like, I'm going to have Luke Altmaier high. And I think people who don't watch ball, specifically people who don't watch late night ball, are going to be very shocked at where I have Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah. No, he's very good. The thing that will get people upset is where you put Julian Sayin, but we'll wait for tomorrow on that.
Well, the Julian Sayin, Bryce Underwood thing is I don't even, I'll admit, I don't know where to put them. I have no idea. I've never seen them play.
The one piece of advice that I would give you in making these lists, and you're doing all of them, is I would follow the same criteria for all of them. So like if you, and I don't mean
project the same way. Yes, I agree.
Same way in every conference. But the thing that will be crazy, and I don't know what you're going to do, and I don't even want to know till we hit live tomorrow, is if you like put Bryce Underwood 4, and then you put Sayin like 9, people are going to go crazy.
See, so that's the problem. There's no good way to do this. There's absolutely no good way to do it.
I can't.
By the way, Ethan Kaliak-Manis is back. Rutgers. I just wanted to say Ethan Kaliak-Manis. It's my favorite name to say. Ethan Kaliak-Manis. Ethan Kaliak-Manis.
Mark Ranowski too. That's a tricky one.
Well, how about Damon Williams?
That's a tricky one.
This
one's more
Dante Moore. We've seen Dante Moore play a few games at UCLA, but I don't think that represents what we're going to see from him at Oregon.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is far more difficult than the SEC. I think
it is because there's not anything obvious.
It's not obvious, and you're also going to have to rank players who haven't played much yet.
Like Drew Aller is the most accomplished thus far, the biggest NFL draft prospect of the bunch, all that stuff. But I am understanding of arguments that Drew Aller has not come anywhere near his ceiling.
I'm going to ask you this for a preview for tomorrow. I don't want to blow the entire show tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you were given the choice between Drew Aller and the field for the number one, overall
quarterback out of these Big Ten starting quarterbacks,
who do you think's the number 1 quarterback at the end of December next year?
The field.
Big Ten, the field.
The field. I will take the field.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. This is fun. Ari, we've talked football for 38 minutes. How amazing is this?
Are we going to go now into the part where people don't want to talk about? Like, what are we doing? I'm going to do a bonus topic that we didn't discuss for a minute.
Go for it.
So I don't know what you were doing this weekend, but this was my weekend of self-care. I don't know if you know about my weekend, but Britt was out of town and my daughter was out of town. So it was me in my house from Friday till Sunday night by myself. But I was like, you know what? This is one of the first weekends I've had in a long time where I have absolutely zero responsibility. I'm going to bang out a column. Like I used part of that time to write. And I wrote a column about how Brett Yormark made the right decision or is making the right decision in which playoff expansion format he is favoring.
Mm-hmm.
And there is in the 5+11 model, not the 4-4-2-2 one. And there's a segment of people who are like very fired up and anti the Big 12 betting on itself. And I was wondering, like, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yes, we should. And I'm glad you brought this up because this was a conversation I had with multiple people at Big 12 Media Days last week, and coaches, athletic directors. Listen, it's a risk to do this. It is a risk because if you were the Big 12 and you said, we'll take the 2 automatic bids, you probably will get more teams in the playoff over the next 6 years, 7 years than you would have. That said, you can't do it. You cannot do it. You cannot sign a piece of paper that says we are half as valuable as the Big Ten and the SEC. Even if that's actually true, you can't say it. You can't admit it, ever.
I actually don't think that it's that big of a risk at all. I think that if
you think they'll get 2 teams in the 16, I kind of agree. If you have a 16-team field, they'll probably get 2 teams in most years.
Yeah. And also, too, it would only be a risk if you were like, if the actual format was 4-4-2-2 or no guaranteed bids at all. Like, that would be a major risk because you want to make sure that whatever system's in place, you have an automatic seed from your conference to the field. But with 16 teams, they had 3 of the top 18 last year, and it could have gone another way. And like, I understand that
BYU was sitting there at 17, right?
Yeah. And then I think, I can't remember who was 18. It was last year. I have no recollection of that. But like, I can't imagine that anybody would be like, yeah, he should definitely just wuss out and take the deal. Like, and also too, like, people are like, yeah, they're not the SEC, so quit acting like it. I don't think that Brett Yormark is operating under the assumption or the illusion that they are the SEC. I think he's operating.
No, they're not. But they're fighting for their own relevance. This is the only way to do that.
And then also big respect for putting the onus on the programs in your league to get better.
Mm-hmm. And look, it may not work, but I can tell you right now, if you sign a piece of paper saying we're half as good as the SEC and the Big Ten, they're just going to take more away from you next time around.
But also, too, what does it not working look like? Last year?
Right. You still got one in. That team almost beat Texas. Should have beaten Texas. Should have gotten a stop on 4th and 13. Like, yeah.
Like, and they were very proud of last year. I think that the only real thing that can ever change the viewpoint of the Big 12 is if one of these teams breaks through and makes a run to the national title game. And I got news for you, Andy. That's going to happen regardless of whether or not they sign up for 2 automatic bids or not. Like, the playoff format has no impact whatsoever on whether any of these 16 teams are equipped to win a national title. That's on them.
That is on them. And we're seeing Texas Tech trying to do it. We're seeing BYU trying to do it. We've talked about how Colorado has a path to it. We've talked about how Utah has a path to it. Like, there are ways to do Arizona State. Like, there are ways to do this.
What I struggle with, though, is for the people who are listening to the show who are like, yeah, Brett Yormark's messing this up. What is the argument against doing it this way? I don't even know what the argument against 5.
Bird in the hand. That's it.
It's 16, though. It's 16 teams.
It is. And that's the other thing that it's people kind of base it on what they've seen, and they've seen 10 years of a 14 playoff and 1 year of a 12-team playoff. So you're not thinking necessarily about, okay, let's now project this out at 16. Like, how many would they get in most years? And I think if you go back through the history of the rankings, now it's hard because you have a Big 12 that had Oklahoma and Texas in it. So it's not necessarily apples to apples. But I do think most years you would have two Big 12 teams in the top 16.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's going to work out that way regardless.
So,
and they might get more in great years, and the format won't have any change on that.
Now, Greg Sankey, in his opening comments at SEC Media Days before he took questions, made it sound like, hey, we're still working with everybody. There's not any animosity, blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is, if the SEC and the Big Ten agreed on what they wanted out of the next playoff format, we'd already know what it is.
Yeah.
So that part needs to get figured out.
Yeah. Thanks for indulging me on that for a second, because I was kind of confused by the backlash.
Yeah. So here's what Sankey said in response to a question. Now, this is from our friend Nicole Auerbach. She's there for NBC. He said, we have a 12-team playoff with 5 conference champions that can stay if we can't agree. So that starting to feel like an increasingly viable option if they can't figure it out by December 1st.
I also don't think it's a bad one. What's the problem with letting a system play out for an extended enough period of time where you have a data to decide whether or not it works or not?
Wouldn't bother me if they kept this one. I don't care if it's 12 or 16. Like, either one's fine with me. This wouldn't bug me if they just kept it there.
I think I would sign up right now if somebody gave me the power for 7 years of this and then make decisions in 7 years.
Jordan asks, why do the SEC and the Big Ten get all the say in this? Here's why, Jordan. Because if you have a playoff, if the SEC and the Big Ten had a playoff just themselves, most of the country would consider whoever won that the national champion. If everybody else had a playoff without the Big Ten and the SEC, it would be considered irrelevant. They have all the power. That's why they have control.
Kind of like when you get an Airbnb with all your friends and whoever booked it gets the master bedroom. It's kind of like
yeah. They're paying the bills on this thing. They have the teams that everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
So that's why. All right, let's talk about the one other thing. We made it this far. This is, as boring offseason money topics go, this is actually one of the more interesting ones. This is kind of juicy. So we've talked about the House settlement. We've talked about this College Sports Commission, which is basically what was created by the conferences out of the House settlement. It's just the NCAA by another name, and it's supposed to police the third-party NIL deals so that, the schools can now pay players, and that money's supposed to be capped, and you're supposed to be able to get quote-unquote legitimate NIL. But you're not supposed to have collectives paying players just for being good at football. Well, the CSC put out guidance last week about, we're going to deny these deals. And even like a collective, here's the example they gave, Ari. And I'll run this by you. So a collective pays a player X number of dollars. That player is then required to go to some meet and greets with fans. Presumably some of the fans who've paid for this. And the fans, of course, pay to get in, and that is the thing that the collective is selling, the good and service that the player and the collective are selling. So the player and the collective have gotten together. The collective will pay the player. The collective will then charge people to come meet the player. The CSC says this is not a legitimate business. In what universe is that not a legitimate business? Having people charged to meet famous people, like that is a very firmly established legitimate business in the United States.
It's almost the same thing as the actual event itself, which is people paying money to go watch them perform.
Correct. Yeah. So, and this is, I think the people who like the conferences didn't understand this. The first people to complain officially were the attorneys for the plaintiffs in the House settlement. So that would be Jeffrey Kessler and Steve Berman. Jeffrey Kessler, by the way, is the best plaintiffs attorney in sports law. The best one. Like, he got free agency to the NFL. Did you think he was just going to go to sleep and that was going to be it? So they sent a letter on Friday saying, hey, this violates the settlement and we want relief from the judge who's assigned to to adjudicate these things now. This is not going to work for the conferences. They're not going to be able to stop this. Like, this is very clearly a violation of that. And it didn't even make it 2 weeks. It's almost as if everybody looked at it and said, this is stupid. It's not going to work. Well, guess what? It's not going to work.
Yeah, I would love to know the actual terms of the deals that were flagged.
Yeah. I'm sure that was all, hey, we're going to give you some money, and here's these very little, very few things you have to do to get it. But it doesn't matter. You are worth whatever someone is willing to pay you for something.
Yeah.
Now, the bill that Greg Sankey was touting that just got introduced in the House, the SCORE Act, it essentially gives the schools and the conferences carte blanche to just violate antitrust laws at will. It gives them an antitrust exemption. It's probably not going to pass, at least with that part of it intact. If it does, God bless them. They've put one over on the U.S. government, and they're going to get to steal money from the players again. If it doesn't, which it probably won't, they're going to have to figure something else out. So we'll see where they get.
To steal money from the players again. It's just like so blunt and true.
That's essentially what they were doing for 100 years. So
yeah. I just like to do the math equation. This is a Bad at Math podcast. The math equation in my head of how much is it going to cost everybody involved to go through the legal semantics of all this crap in relation to how much it would cost to just do the system you're afraid of. And which one would, like, how much more money would you spend in either? Like, are you saving money by going through all these legal gymnastics?
I think they think it will cost them more if they have to make them employees. They don't actually have to make them employees. They don't have to make them W-2 employees. They could make them gig workers. They could make them like Uber drivers.
That'd be cool.
But they could still organize in that way, and you could have a CBA. The CBA is what allows you to have rules in the pro sports. Like, I don't think people understand that. Everybody thinks the NFL has an antitrust exemption. It doesn't. The only antitrust exemption the NFL has is the Broadcasting Act of 1961 that allows them to sell their TV rights as one. That's the only protection they have. Like, the NFL has lost several major antitrust cases, but they lost to the USFL. But remember, they only got awarded $1, which became $3 because you triple the amount. But so it's not that they have actual protection from the government to do so. Like, they just negotiate with the players and they make a collective bargaining agreement, and the players can't sue because they agreed to it.
Right.
So now I've had people say, and I agree with them, why would any college player now want to collectively bargain? They've got the best system ever. They do, but the ones at the bottom are going to want more protections, specifically like lifetime health care, that sort of thing. They are going to be the much larger number of players. They probably would still like a nice CBA that would guarantee them some things over something that doesn't guarantee them anything.
Right. Whew. How many more years of these conversations are we going to have?
When's the Super League starting?
2033.
Okay, so because they're all going to be employees of Super League Inc. when that happens.
Wait, when is the ACC not going to exist anymore?
Teams can really start dropping out like flies around 2030, but the SEC TV contract ends in 2033.
Did you remember what year I said?
2033. I'm sorry, everybody, because we're still going to be doing this show then. I'm assuming. So. I hope
so. Yeah.
I don't know that I want to do 8 more years of this in the offseason.
Dude, 2033, this show is going to be a behemoth if we make it that far.
Oh, it's a monster. Like, we're going to be so important that we'll do like Howard Stern did, where we scale it back to like 2 shows a week. Like,
yeah,
we're going to do 2 shows a week, 7 months a year.
The thing that's funny though is that, like, in college football, I think more things happen in college football in a given week than in the NFL. Like, it's not even close, right?
Oh, undoubtedly. And the NFL, now the NFL has created different dates to create that generate news. That it's like they do it on purpose. College football doesn't do it on purpose. It's just constant.
It's just pure numbers. There's just more people playing, and there's more teams and more coaches, so more things happen. But I don't know
Steve,
if you could ever do if we could ever exist in a world where we go live twice a week for a show without going live 20 other times to like break down breaking news.
Exactly. And that's, by the way, expect that starting this week, where if something crazy happens, we just pop on for a few minutes, because we're now into that area. Like somebody at SEC Media Day is going to say something really interesting, and we're going to want to squeeze off a take. So Steve in the chat says, do you guys have any good names for the Super League, or is it just the Super League? I don't know about you, Ari. I figured the people who gave us college football playoff are probably not going to give us anything super creative. You could call it the League of Leagues. I don't know. The Mega League.
I like the college football playoff, by the way. I like the name.
It's very SEO friendly.
It's so much. It's like you can't compare that to the Washington football team. Like the college football playoff is, I mean, the NFL doesn't even have a name for the playoffs. It's the NFL playoffs. Why would college footballs be any different?
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's said, I have no problem with the name just describing what the show is, or what the product is.
Yeah, College Football Super League has a Wikipedia page. So,
the Wikipedia editor is getting started early.
Yeah, there's some. I'm looking at the actual references area, and there's like a Dan Wolken story in here.
Oh, how about that? There's not one of ours?
I'm looking to see if there's one from you.
I think I took a crack when the soccer Super League failed in Europe. I took a crack at what a 15 team or a 16 team league would look like. That made people mad.
Yeah, the main reference to this is an ESPN story with the headline, what would a Super League look like? Andrea Adelson, I think, contributed to this. Bill Connolly and David Hale, those guys did that. But we could do like a 5-minute segment at some point later in the week with some time to think about it, coming up with Super League names. But, no, because the Super League just depresses people. Yeah.
And I don't want that. Brian Kelly's up talking at SEC Media Days now. I saw this earlier because they always have the scrum beforehand with the local media. And Brian Kelly said that LSU strength coaches have put tiger paws on all the bags that they hit in their offseason workouts, the Clemson Tiger Paw logo, because they are emphasizing winning that game. How much is the season opener losing streak in the heads of Brian Kelly and company these days? Like,
it has to be. It's insane.
That is, well, it predates him. Like, he's only responsible for 3 of these.
Well, I mean, like, what is the record for most consecutive openers lost from like a powerhouse program? I bet you this one's it, right?
Probably. And now part of it is LSU schedules somebody good every year.
No, I know, but that's part of the reason why it's got to be a record.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel bad for them at this point, because this is probably the worst one of the bunch, right? Is this Clemson team the best of those teams that they've played?
Yeah.
Because the 2 Florida State, like one of the Florida State teams was very good. That one Florida State team went 13-0. So maybe that one. But like that last year's USC team was obviously not that good.
Yeah. Clemson actually is a national championship contender. I don't know. LSU is also supposed to be the best version of itself too, which makes the game so exciting. So like they're playing the best version of Clemson that they could be playing.
Yeah,
but in theory they should be the best.
Do you remember how this thing started? By the way, it started in 2020 with that 10-game All SEC schedule, where the first game I believe was early October. Remember Mike Leach's first game? They threw for 600 yards against the Bo Pelini defense at LSU.
I remember that.
That was the first of these. That started the losing streak.
Yeah, but that was like the cooker of Bo Pelini's entire existence in Baton Rouge too.
Oh yeah, no, it was over at that point, and that was but that was fool's gold because the following week, that Mississippi State offense got shut down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, this was the number one game, Andy, on my off-season list of games I'm most excited to watch in the non-conference, and people went crazy.
Oh, I love this game. I'm so excited. Let's remember what the second game of that was?
No, I've no recall.
At UCLA with Coach O talking about that blue.
Oh, is that the game where UCLA beat the crap out of them on the ground and just ran all over them, like ran it down their throats for 4 quarters?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, very strange. Chip Kelly against Coach O. Like that was bizarre. Bizarre. Like losing to Florida State the following year, fine. Losing to Florida State the next year, also fine, because that Florida State team went 13-0 before all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And then last year, not fine, because that USC team turned out to not be good. But I'm fascinated by this LSU team because I think Nussmeier is going to be very good. Obviously, you saw my quarterback rankings. I think Brian Kelly's under a lot of pressure, even though his buyout is enormous and they probably can't fire him.
Yeah,
I still think he's under a ton of pressure.
Yeah, it kind of like reminds me of like what Paul Feinbaum said about Lincoln Riley being under the most pressure. I was like, I feel like you cannot be under the most pressure if you can't be fired.
Maybe that's a topic for tomorrow, because we'll have the full Brian Kelly experience. Like he will have done the whole rounds. Who in the SEC is under the most pressure? Which coach is under the most pressure in the SEC?
I might write this. Can I just write this? Like which coaches are like the pressure meter?
I love it. Do we need to come up with a gauge, with a measurement?
I'm trying to come up with a clever headline that but like I'm gonna do like top 10 coaches in the country, and then we can talk about it tomorrow.
I think that's great. I'm
Brent Venables number one.
Happy to send you all their buyout information because I included it in a hot seat column earlier this year.
Yeah, just send me the column so I can because their hot seat or their buyout situation has a direct impact on their pressure.
Absolutely, because under normal circumstances, we would have Luke Fickell very high on this list at Wisconsin. His buyout's enormous.
But let me ask you this as a guide, and then we'll go. If you know you can't be fired, you can still be under a tremendous amount of pressure, right?
Which is why I think Brian Kelly fits perfectly here.
But like Billy Napier and those guys who are like, if you don't win 7 games out of the first 9, you're gone.
Exactly. Yeah. They will do it.
You're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what makes Kelly's situation so different is like another 8-4 season at LSU is not good enough. But I'm not sure what they would do about
this offseason has gone by very quickly. And this offseason has also gone by very slowly. And I'm trying to remember if I wrote something similar to this.
I don't think you did. I know I did in January or February.
But I remember
sitting reread it the other day.
Doing that, you're like, you did a hot seat column. But pressure and hot seat are different.
They are different. Because I would argue that Mark Stoops is under pressure. But there's no chance in hell that Kentucky could fire him without cause. His buyout is too big. It is all due in one lump sum. It's never going to happen. They're not going to pay the buyout. So it would have to be him retiring or something else if he had a bad year. But there is pressure. Like Lincoln Riley, under pressure, not necessarily fireable because his buyout is so big.
Yeah. Mark Stoops, though, there's a different type of pressure, too. It's like if you had a legacy or, you were at one point a coach that people might have thought of making a statue and then overstaying your welcome and then the views souring on you, and then that's what you're remembered by. Like that, to me, there's pressure in that.
Yeah. Rocky Top Tom says Mark Stoops can keep going 8-4 for the rest of eternity. The problem is they don't look equipped to go 8-4. That's the issue.
Yeah.
If he could keep going 8-4, I think they'd be okay with that.
Yeah, 8-4 is celebratory.
Yeah. Okay, that's the biggest issue. But I am so excited about this. Last week was awesome in Frisco, Texas. Getting to see everybody, getting fresh content. SEC Media Days is a circus. We all know that. But we're going to get a hell of a lot more stuff and it's going to be so much fun. So,
and a week from right now, Daddy's going to be on an airplane to Vegas, baby.
There you go.
Vegas,
that's right. We're going to be a Big Ten. Remember, we got Brian Kelly, Shane Beamer, Clark Lee, Diego Pavia from Vandy, Lane Kiffin, Austin Simmons from Ole Miss. We got a lot of fun today. Tomorrow, Hugh Freeze, Kirby Smart, Josh Heupel, and Steve Sarkisian. Now, of those, Hugh Freeze would be your one under the most pressure. And I would argue, now it's your list. I'm not going to tell you how to make your own list. I think Hugh Freeze is under the most pressure because I think his buyout is the most manageable.
I think Brent Venables is under more pressure.
I think they're under the same amount of pressure. Ari, do they play each other? Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, by the way, terrible news, by the way.
Oh, no.
I can't go to that game. I can't go to it.
Life got in the way?
Daughter's birthday party.
Listen, I know a couple people who have the same birthday as your daughter.
Yeah.
If we all agreed that all the people who were born on September 29th just celebrate on a different day. Producer River, join me as a fellow September 29th birthday.
Yeah.
Along with Liv Wasserman. River, do you okay us celebrating on a different day so that Ari can go to Auburn, Oklahoma?
The problem is that, and I don't know if you ever did this with your kids, Andy, we're doing a joint birthday party with one of her classmates that has a birthday at the same time. And the joint birthday party makes it more cost effective and like more fun.
The joint birthday party is clutch.
They all have the same friends and they were born 5 days apart from each other. So
and you are in the preschool, early elementary school phase of everybody in the class has to get invited.
Yep.
Yes.
That gets so expensive.
Yeah. But also too, like why go to their birthday party a day before our birthday party? But like also too, it's just like there are certain things in life that you're just like not gonna miss, and my daughter's birthday is one of them. So, but I'll be.
Hold on, yeah. I do. Is this party going to take place while games are going on?
It's going to take place during a gap in which it was the same thing that happened last year.
There's no gap. Once the games start at noon, they've started.
Yeah, but we're doing it like towards the end of. Yeah, it's like in the early evening. So like I'll be.
You're fired. You're so fired.
No, I mean, like I did it last year. You don't remember?
I remember.
Yeah. And like also too, you think I'm not?
I just can't wait till you have to go live from your daughter's birthday.
I will.
Party.
You don't think I will? But I did it at a time so I would be home. The problem with it is that you look at it's like, just so you know, I was told when this is. I wasn't asked.
I know. That's my favorite part of this is torturing you because I know you have no choice.
But I looked at the actual schedule in the game. It has happened yesterday where I was waiting at the airport to pick her up or to pick up our daughter. And Britt told me in the car last night, and she goes, "Can you do September 20th?" And I was like, "Do I have a choice?" And she's like, "Well, we booked it." And I was like, "Okay, so why are you asking me?" And then, but she goes, "Are there any big games that day?" And the following weekend, which would be the more appropriate time for her birthday party, is Oregon, Penn State. So like there's other, but like the game times haven't been announced.
You did probably luck out on that front because I think now look, there's big games every Saturday.
Yeah. There's no good Saturday. But like I'm not going to like one of my best friends' wedding. I'm doing the best that I can.
It's also like you're not traveling for it. It's in town. It'll be fine. But I just think it's very funny that you didn't get a choice, and now
I tried to look at the schedule of the day. I'm like, how is this going to map out? And like,
I think Florida Miami is that day as well. It's going to be fun.
Why don't you try to help me map out the actual times of the games?
Tulane Ole Miss is an interesting game that day. South Carolina, Mizzou, Auburn, Oklahoma, Oregon State,
Texas Tech,
Illinois, Indiana's that day. That's going to be a fascinating game.
Yeah, Texas Tech, Utah's that day. That's a pretty big one. Michigan goes to Nebraska that day.
Without Sharon Moore.
And 80% of the games haven't had an announced time yet.
Arizona State, Baylor is that day.
I actually think that in the grand scheme of actually jam-packed days that I might have lucked out.
I think you dodged the bullet because I think the next week has objectively bigger games.
But I also am upset
almost everybody's into conference play by that next week.
The following week, we have Ohio State at Washington, LSU at Ole Miss, which is a big game. Florida
Auburn,
State,
Texas A&M, USC, Illinois.
Yeah, USC, Illinois.
Indiana, Iowa.
Yeah,
you dodged the bullet, buddy.
But also, Notre Dame plays Arkansas, which I think is kind of sneaky good. Oregon, Penn State, BYU at Colorado would have been a big game. I don't know what it will be like.
But Alabama, Georgia is also on the 27th.
I'm upset, though, because you know more than anything, Andy, and I think that you and I differ on this. I love football more when there are like juicy storylines to it, and there is nothing more compelling than Jackson Arnold returning to Norman to me. And like, I wanted to actually, it's like I'm not worried about missing an hour because the birthday parties when they're 4 are like an hour and a half. I'm not worried about missing stuff. I'm worried and upset that I don't get to go to that. I wanted to leave town to go to that game.
That is one where I feel like psychologically there's so much going on.
Yeah.
So you have the Jackson Arnold coming back to Norman part of it. You also have the pressure on Hugh Freeze and Brent Venables, who look, somebody's going to win that game. It doesn't mean that both of them have great years or that the one that wins has a great year. It's that there are only so many winnable games. Now, I will argue that I think Auburn could have a potentially great season if they get good quarterback play out of Jackson Arnold. But I just think this is going to be, psychologically, this might be the most heavy game of the year.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't imagine like if Brent loses to Jackson Arnold at home.
It could be very bad. Very, very bad. And you know, the flip side of that is if Auburn is in every game, but they get crippling interceptions that cost them, which was the same problem last year with a different quarterback, like that would be just awful. So this is going to be.
And one thing that we didn't mention, which I want to tip my hat, that's not the right term. I want to acknowledge Oklahoma and Auburn fans, is I think that both of us feel like both of these teams have a shot at doing something unexpected this year.
And that significantly
might be like
better.
A fork in the road type game for both teams where it's like both are doing pretty good. Whoever wins that game goes on to have a much better than expected season, and whoever loses that game goes left. And I think that like that on top of the pressure and the Jackson Arnold angle might define that day too. Because what if they're both in pretty good? Like what if Oklahoma?
I'm telling you right now, Auburn's roster is one of the best Auburn rosters we've seen in the past 10 years. Auburn's got some dudes. Keldrick Falk, the offensive tackle they got from Virginia Tech that Cody Blair loves. Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton Jr.
Yeah. The defensive end they got in the portal that everyone's obsessed with.
Exactly. So that is what makes this so fascinating. And obviously, we talked about John Mateer at the start of the show and how great we think he can be. So, yeah, Xavier Chaplin is the offensive tackle from Virginia Tech who could be really good at Auburn this year. All right, Ari, it's football season. We're here. Now we just need somebody to say something stupid at SEC Media Days. We'll talk to you tomorrow.